So the question today is, should social media be regulated? At the end, I'm going to bring an expert in, Barbara F. Walters, a a scientist, University of California, San Diego, and she will give you a very important contrast as far as why this is necessary. But on the interim, I put together some questions yesterday and put them into a Word format and have them on screen now for today. So let's go to a two-part screen here. So my question that I placed was, social media is owned mostly by American oligarchs, and they talk free speech, like Elon Musk took over Twitter, changed it to X, said we're going to make sure there's free speech. They talk free speech, but alter algorithms to represent their version of free speech. And that's the important factor at play here. But alter algorithms to represent their version of free speech. The only real way that you can have freedom is this way: to recognize the patterns, to not attach to the patterns, and rest in what sees. That may be hard to wrap your head around, but watch the patterns, be aware of the patterns, do not be the patterns, rest in what sees. Now, in order to have free speech, these American oligarchs alter algorithms to represent their version of free speech. How is that fair? And how can that represent industry compliance? So they can't self-regulate themselves because they got self-interest. It's money and ego, because the ego's massaged because their version of free speech is being broadcast and amplified. And that's what we have to understand. The fact that social or major social media platforms are owned by a small group of American billionaires, often described as tech oligarchs. You seen them at the inauguration of the January 20th, the inauguration of Donald Trump, raises serious concerns about both fairness and content moderation and compliance with broader industry standards for free expression. While these platforms claim to uphold free speech, they also deploy proprietary algorithms that quietly suppress, promote, or curate content based largely on their own interests and external pleasure or pressures, all without meaningful transparency or public accountability. Now, what I'm going to show you as well is my personal experience of what is shown to me. And my experience using social media to help promote a couple of YouTube channels, one in particular, that's based on political opinions. And I create these opinions and make YouTube videos. And based on what I try to put out there, I've been knocked off as a bot, had to make sure that because I've been reported or whatever, or it just goes against the algorithms. And then also, in order to continue, they suppress my viewership and they put a label on my account. And this is what's going on, because it's not aligned with the free speech of the algorithms of the platform. So algorithmic control and bias, it's real, based on my experience. I don't, I got a lot of experience, actually. One account's from 2016. So platforms like Meta, Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly Twitter, and Google actively control which voices are amplified or downranked, often with algorithms designed to favor controversy, polarization, or advertiser interests, rather than a neutral interpretation of free speech. Users, often even outside regulators, are left in the dark about how these algorithms work or who they might favor. leading to widespread accusations of hidden manipulation, shadow banning, where certain content is systematically made less visible without users' knowledge. At least they brought it to my attention. They just friggin' totally froze my account, or put a label on my account and notified that they're putting a label on my account. And trying to dispute it with their systems, there's just no dispute process to dispute it on X. It just goes nowhere. You just got to post and hopefully it goes away. So this structure gives oligarchs near total control over what information reaches large audiences, making free speech at best conditional, filtered through opaque corporate interests, sometimes in alignment with governmental or political pressures. And right now with Donald J. Trump, you've got a guy that he's controlled. You see it with, I'm going to give you the most important example between Ukraine, this fascination with Putin and Russia. So you're seeing an imperialistic capitalism, and that was mentioned. It's a Russian thing, and the Russian people have been pushing it since the Bolshevik Revolution. They wanted to do socialism to communism, but they finally settled on imperialistic capitalism, which meant the bourgeoisie class, which is the middle class, was wiped out, and they oppress and control the bottom sector of people. And that's what you see with Trump. Now, you may be in denial about that, but it's happening. QAnon, which tried to say this pedophile organization, but the Tates and everything else keep pointing to the Republicans. I'm sure there are Democrats that have their hands dirty as well, but Pizzagate, between Epstein and Trump, and actually, Epstein was scared of Trump because he said Trump acts without compunction and will do anything. So it makes you wonder. Guy becomes president, all of a sudden Epstein has commits suicide, and Virginia Giuffre suicide as well. Two most important people that had things on Trump. So go figure. You figure that one out. I'm just pointing it out to you. So implications for fairness and compliance. In terms of fairness, this setup means that billions of people are subject to standards and decisions set not democratically, but by a few unaccountable owners in ways that can reinforce their own values or commercial priorities. Understand free markets, billionaires, their first concern is money. They want to enrich themselves. They want to enrich their shareholders. They want deregulation. Doesn't matter if whatever they're doing creates a toxic environment that affects the average American, Canadian, or anybody else in a Western democracy. So the other thing that you have to understand is that cable television, or cable television, like Fox, is not regulated like mainstream, which is something like CNN, and also internet is not regulated. Social media is not regulated. And this is why with social media, it's been used to influence, and that's what gave Trump his leapfrog effect on everybody else. He understood that back in 2016, has been totally focusing on that thereafter. In Canada, Pierre Poilievre, totally focusing on social media and influencers, YouTube, etc., because there is no regulation on the internet and social media. Let's face it, there's self-interest here. So we're seeing a slant in what's going on. So now, Barbara F. Walter, who I'm going to have at the end, she's a political scientist, and as I said, University of California, San Diego. Now, one of my accounts here, this one I just registered not long ago to start moving things, and August 2025, this one. Already I've got labels. My viewership is limited. I've been put the brakes on many times where I had to do all sorts, jump through hoops to get back online. But here, 3 views, 2 views. And this one here, Unified Field Theory Consciousness with Intent, the live stream I did. This is on another YouTube account that I have. That's something else that I do. So now it's limited by it. But initially I was just doing political ones, and these are the most recent. So they're all limited. Doesn't matter. Unilateral, they've been affected by it. So that's where we're at. That's where we're at. But now, when I log on with this account, what do I get? It's all conservative. It's far right wing. All the content that's brought to my attention, far right wing. They're all far right wingers. Far right wing. It's all far right wing that's being promoted. Like 100%, well, maybe 98%, because there's a little sports content here off to the side. The Anaheim Ducks edge out the Golden Knights. So that's it. It's all raging right-wing, far right-wing content. And that's all it is. Nothing else but that. Look, right-winger, Concerned Canadian, Alberta, Danielle Smith, UPC Party of Alberta, they want to separate. It's all right-wing stuff. Just raging right-wing politics. That's all that's being presented. Now, this account's another, so I finally, because I wanted to separate the true self, because I do a consciousness channel, and the Whigtory is based on the Whigs, which is liberal, and Tories, which is conservative. So between the two. Now, I sit between the two. On a personal basis, I don't care what party is in power. All I care about is what is being done, or whatever party can do the best overall at that point in time to the people. And that's where I am. That's where I am. But here, even here, the Whigtory. Now, this account, as I said August, I pretty much said August, I hope I said that. But here, all the content being forced to me, same thing. It's all far right-wing content. There is nothing else being presented except for maybe some sports, maybe this headline, but how it's spun, I don't know. But I know Mario Zalale, or Zalea, it's all right-wing stuff. All right-wing media. It's all right-wing that's being rammed down the throat of people. They don't realize they're being manipulated on a subconscious and unconscious level. Now, even, here's the Whigtory again. All I get in the feed. Now, this account here, I've had since March 2016. This is when I was doing digital marketing. Now now I've got at least some followings, and I follow a few other people. Let's go to the home right here on a real-time basis. See what happens. At least some of this has not been misconstrued by the algorithms, but it's based on what I've done in the past and allowed. I didn't do any political content on this channel till maybe just within this past week or so, just a few. But because of the length of the channel, the algorithms have represented it differently. So now we're going to go to, what are we going to go to? This here. It's going to bring up Barbara F. Walters.
I agree with you. That is a hopeful note. But before we do depart, I want to push one other area, which is that our autocratic adversaries want democracies to fail.
Yes. They
want us to be divided. They want us to be dysfunctional. And while we have the benefit of two oceans, it's clear that our adversaries want to steer up as much division and dysfunction as possible. How do you see that threat? And how do you deal?
So the irony is that the United States has the most powerful military in the world by a factor of like a lot. I think we're bigger than the next 6 militaries combined. And yet we have this enormous gaping hole in our security, and that's the internet. So it used to be that America was kind of untouchable. You really couldn't hurt our society very much. But boy, is it easy today. Putin, starting in 2010, has hired an army of individuals who do nothing but put out disinformation about our democracy, disinformation about every potentially divisive issue in this country. It'll put out extreme content about about vaccines, both on the positive side and the negative side. Anything that creates division, they were able to infiltrate or at least influence the outcome of our elections. So they figured that out, and they've done this not just here in the United States, but in all of the Western democracies. We now know that Putin had his hand in influencing the Brexit vote, right? And Brexit will turn out to be a really terrible decision, not just for Great Britain, but for Western Europe and for NATO. So that's the puzzle. We invest all of this money into our military security, and yet we give our enemies absolutely free rein into the minds of our citizens via the internet.
That is the irony. Of course, our adversaries want to use democracy against itself. I would also remind all of us that in 1989, when the Berlin Wall fell, it looked like liberal democracy was triumphant, and autocrats have found a way to climb back, which is to say the end of history is not nigh. And we do need to double down on what truly makes America great, which is its citizens and our resolute impulse to remain independent and to defend our hard-won democracy. Barbara F. Walter, thank you so much for joining us on How to Fix It.
So, there you go, folks. That's where we're at. So, I come back to where I was at. We need the internet regulated. We need social media regulated, because this is what's creating the divide. You're being divided by Russian influencers, other influencers, but mostly Russian, believe it or not. Most of it's all Russian. And that's the reality. That's the reality. Where's my other... okay. And that's the important factor you have to understand. Donald Trump, and I'm just going to paraphrase this one again, you've never seen in the history of the United States where a U.S. president has bypassed Congress in the way that Donald J. Trump has, used tariffs as a cudgel to influence every country around the world and actually create a pay-to-play game. He's been very transparent about how corrupt he is, Bitcoin and what he's doing with that. He's pretty much going to create a private debt situation that crashes the markets in the United States, which, if that happens, it'll reverberate around the world. And you have to understand also that it's not government debt and deficits that crash the markets. It's private debt out of control. The 2008 crash was a result of private debt. Some of the executives of Merrill Lynch walk away with a verbal slap on the in the hand, but $200 million parachute packages. Meanwhile, the average Joe was still paying for it because all that was repaid through the average guy. And it's been done throughout the history of time. The thing is, you don't build a house by putting the roof on the house first. And that's why this favoring oligarchs and American or any corporate entity whatsoever and thinking that that will help the average Joe it's a mistake, and it's a social experiment that's proven does not work. The conservatives still want to go in that route. You build a house by creating a solid foundation. So that means lifting up the people. The money has to trickle to the people and lift the people up, not the other way around. So That's my point of view. That's the opinion by moi, Michael J. Love and peace to y'all. Let me know what you think. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? But try to be civil. Just don't be like the last guy. Oh, you're on drugs. Come on, use some common sense. Folks, take care. Thanks for watching. Love and peace to everyone. Border Political Insight. 2 countries, 1 conversation.